Ladies and gentlemen, now that the Major League Baseball playoffs have started, we can get into some podcasts on the history of the postseason. Today, of course, we're going to be talking about the 50th anniversary of the Magnificent Deception. Now, you've heard of the Immaculate Reception, you heard of the Motor City Miracle, Hail Mary, but this is a part of baseball history you should learn about. In 1972, one of the greatest fakes in World Series history occurred against a Hall of Famer from a Hall of Famer. Now, to give a little bit of background, the great American game of baseball is a fraud, according to writer Shirley Povich. A treachery and un-American. It offers a regrettable example to the nation's youth, is populated by cheats, thrives on sneaky tricks, and teaches pagan values to thousands of little leaguers. It is corruptive and should be repressed, and is sometimes played by major leaguers. It is fascinating. In the third World Series game, played October 20th, 1972, there was a rip-off to delight all admirers of the Brinks heist and the Great London Train Robbery. With exquisite execution, the thoroughly unprincipled Oakland A's pulled it against Johnny Bench, the National League's home run king and most valuable player, who mistakenly assumed he was competing against men of honor. Now, in this column by Shirley Povich, actually it was October 20th, but the event occurred shortly before that. Now, in this very key game of World Series, at the top of the eighth, the Reds were threatening to add to the skimpy 1-0 lead at the expense of starter Vida Blue, who had replaced John Blue Moon Odom, the original starter. With one out, Blue walked Joe Morgan, who raced the third on Bobby Tolan's single up the middle. In came key reliever Rollie Fingers, the A's specialist in putting out late-inning fires. Tolan easily stole second as Fingers worked carefully to Johnny Bench. The count then went to 3-2. Now, what happened, if you can see it on YouTube, with the 72 World Series film, it was a very obvious deception for Bench. Dick Williams, the future coach of San Diego and the Montreal Expos, was the head coach, the manager of the A's that year. Now, he called time, walked to the mound, and belabored the obvious. With first base open, the A's would not risk a good pitch to the Reds' dangerous cleanup hitter. Catcher Gene Tennis and third baseman Sal Bando joined the discussion. Then, with the subtlety of a mustachioed villain in a silent movie, manager Williams twice pointed to first base, apparently instructing Fingers to walk Bench on the next pitch. Now, back then, nowadays you put up the four fingers and send them straight to first. But to give a what they call intentional walk, you had to throw four pitches and do the old-fashioned arm to the left or to the right, like to do the pitch out. Now, impresario Williams could not resist an additional flourish. He pointed to the next center, future Expo Tony Perez, in the on-deck circle. The charade anesthetized Bench, but the A's had not yet finished introducing the small-town Oklahoman to big city theater. Catcher Tennis trudged dutifully back to home plate, waiting for Bench to step back into the batter's box. He not only held his mitt at arm's length in anticipation of the fourth ball, but also began the ritual of moving a step towards first, as catchers always do when a deliberate pass is coming. But too late. Bench's teammates discovered the ruse. As Fingers delivered the ball, Morgan yelled to Bench from third base, "Be ready, John. They're going to pitch to you." The great Alex Ramis, the Reds' third base coach, has seen the play in the minors, as had Morgan. "I started to holler, but all I got out was, 'Ugh!'" Gramis says, and by that time the ball was on the way. The denouement was crushing and swift. Tennis quietly eased back into regular catching position, and Fingers, without much wind-up, delivered a splendid slider that clipped the strike zone about knee-high. Bench stood there transfixed, his bat in his shoulder. "I guess that made me look like the GOAT," he said sheepishly to the media. It could have been worse. Though the Reds failed to score in the inning, they held the A's and won 1-0. Still, Fingers relished his dramatic debut. "I tried to be relaxed," he explained later. "I just came up real nonchalant and let the ball go. I couldn't have thrown it better if I had taken 15 minutes. Now, hidden ball trick, different stuff. But what was really weird here, if you look at the tape on YouTube, by the way, I took the information for this podcast mostly from the great book, Baseball Great Moments, which was a Rutledge book by Crown Publishers in the 1980s. The idea about Bench, again, he wasn't a stupid player, but the way Williams presented it, you're going to see it in the video. Like I said, look up that 1972 World Series film by Coca-Cola. That's a plug. He basically thought, hey, Rollie Fingers in tennis respect me too much, they're not going to freak me over. But Williams was a master of that. Now, what was kind of ironic, ladies and gentlemen, within 2 years, Williams was no longer manager of the A's because of what Charlie Finley did in the 73 World Series because of the Mike Andrews incident and all different stuff. And I think he was against all the Charlie Finley motivation to kind of manage from the sidelines. Now, Dick Williams didn't win a pennant after he left Oakland, didn't win a World Series. Obviously won the NL in San Diego, but he lost the 5 games in Detroit. The team that he built and managed got into the playoffs in '81, the Expos, but lost to the Dodgers Monday on Monday. So, but the idea about this World Series lineage has a lot of things. Now, what stands out now with baseball is not plays like this. It's the bad fans, like you saw in San Diego yesterday, giving the finger to the opposing players from the outfield or making a catch and being raucous in a negative way, and the bad umpiring and also checking the glove after every pitcher comes off the mound. That's disrespectful. I'd much rather have sneakery, that's a word by the way, sneakery in baseball, then basically something's going to stop it. But again, it was a perfect storm. Dick Williams, great mind, Gene Tennis, Rollie Fingers, and Johnny Bench, again, not say trusting. But you know what's strange about Johnny Bench? I don't know if you know this. He was very popular in Canada for something you don't expect. He wasn't popular because he was just a great player. He's one of the few Aboriginal superstars of Major League Baseball. So to a Métis like me and Aboriginal status people across Canada, he's always been a hero. So to see one of our own get freaked out is the latest form of the white man getting one over on the Indians. Not, put it this way, Johnny Bench made up for it, that's all I can say. By 1976, what he did in the playoffs, tremendous player. So again, a great team in the A's and the Reds, great moment, and again, it's there for posterity. And look at it. And by the way, if you have any World Series requests, any moments of World Series history that you want me to talk about, this is going to be the first of an ongoing series. Thanks for listening. Bye.